call to order the Halfmoon Township Board of Supervisors regular meeting on October 14th. All rise if you're able to for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay, we had a budget meeting right before this, which we did these same things, so we'll do it again. Let's do our roll call.
Chairman Del Corso,
Present.
Vice Chairman Strauss,
Good afternoon.
Supervisor Hartle,
Here.
Supervisor Beck,
Here.
and Supervisor Piper is not present.
Okay. Opening announcements.
Same as every time, gotta say it. We're being live recorded on CNET's YouTube channel. There's a link in the agenda. We're also looking for email addresses for any residents so that we can provide updates via our listserv. And as always, we're looking for people who want to volunteer in some capacity. That could be on our authorities, our boards. You can help with different events. If you can give an hour a year or an hour a day, that's great. We'll take whatever we can get, and we're happy to have you.
Great. And one more announcement. Right before this meeting, we did have an executive session to discuss personnel matters. No decisions were made. Okay, at this time, it's citizen comments, and I do see that we have a letter from one of our citizens asking for a sign. Do you want me to read it? Do you want
Sure. So we had a citizen mail us a formal request, and that is from Amy Pastor at 168 Centennial Hills Road in Port Matilda. And she says that she is writing to request that the board consider installing children at play signs in the Centennial Hills James Hill Road neighborhood. In the past year, we have seen a number of new families with children move in. There are close to 20 children just on Centennial Hills. These youngsters are very active and enjoy running up and down the street, visiting their friends. It is very refreshing to see these children enjoying the outside, but also a little nerve-wracking. The children do tend to stay off the road, but there are many cars traveling on the street. I need to remind myself to be careful while backing out of my driveway. I have spoken with other neighbors, and they agree it would be a good idea to have signage alerting drivers that there are children at play. Thank you for your consideration of this request. Sincerely, Amy Pastor.
I don't know, since you probably just got this, right? So do we have any idea of how much a sign costs, what it takes to do that? Is it appropriate for regulations, all of that fun stuff?
So we'll have to take a look at this. Of course, anytime we put up a sign, there's the requirement then to maintain it. Also, I don't believe this is a thorough way. So I don't know of, the special need to do so. If it's pretty much a closed road, I would say. So if the neighbors are aware of it, it might not be necessary. But we can take a look into the overall cost and then the maintenance of it as well.
I would like to have that looked at, just for one, information's sake, if we ever wanted to put up a sign for something else along one of our roads, just so we know a ballpark figure of what it costs and what it costs to maintain it. I know that neighborhood is down not far from where I live. It is kind of a loop, so it's kind of one way in, one way out as far as I can remember. I don't necessarily object to having a children at play sign put it at the front of that neighborhood. I don't think it would be a bad idea. It's the cost part that we need to figure out, but I wouldn't object to it. So.
Anyone else have any comments of having Denise and staff look up?
No, I've seen similar signs inside developments before, so it's, I think, a very reasonable request.
Okay, good. Explore what that would entail and come back to us.
I'll bring it back at the next meeting.
Sounds
Thank
great.
you.
Thank you, Amy Pastor, for submitting that request. Okay, any other citizens' comments? Nobody's online?
Nope. Is there anybody on YouTube? Nope. We're good there.
Next up is the approval of the agenda for this evening. I was gonna add one item of old business that Patty Hartle, Supervisor Hartle, emailed to us about home occupation that is an eyesore potentially.
I would prefer, so with the new sunshine law, I would prefer that we just address that as that email was addressed, and we have a meeting coming up with that gentleman.
Okay. thank you. Okay, so no agenda item. Is there anything else anybody wants to add or change on the agenda, or if it's good as is, I'll take a motion to approve it.
I'll move to approve tonight's agenda.
Second?
Second?
Thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. So let's move down to approval of the minutes from the September 23rd and October 6th meetings.
I'll move to approve the agenda for September, or the minutes from September 23rd and October 6th.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you.
My reluctance is only because I was absent from the October 6th meeting, so it's kind of hard for me to verify what it says in a meeting. Should I abstain from?
You don't have to.
No, it's okay.
Okay, I'll second. That's not an issue.
Is there any discussion, corrections, additions to the minutes? All those in favor of approving, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, okay. Next up is our consent agenda, which contains bills list for the period of September 18th through October 8th from the General Fund and Fire Protection Fund. If you have any specific questions about items in that bills list, we would need to pull those out and have a motion separately. If you're okay with the bills coming out of those funds, we can make a motion to approve this as a consent agenda.
I move that we approve tonight's consent agenda to pay the general fund and fire protection funds for the period of 9/18 to 10/8/2021.
Second.
I'll second.
Thank you. Any questions or discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, ayes have it. No old business. New business. We have a guest here this evening, Pam Adams, to discuss with us, which I've brought some brought some information about this from my committee representation on the Climate Action and Sustainability Committee. This is, I'll let Pam, she's done this a few times, speak to this, but I really do hope that everybody got a chance to at least take a look at it, read through. The executive summary is amazing. And I just want to give Pam all the kudos in the world. I know you do get a lot of kudos, and I hope you take them, because the amount of work and effort that you put into this is undeniable. And just from looking at it, because I'm on the committee, I fully understand if others take a peek and like, wow, this is great. They might not fully grasp the amount of work that went into this. So just want to give you kudos and congratulations.
Thank you. So my name is Pam Adams. I'm the Sustainability Planner at the Center Region Planning Agency. And tonight I'm going to give you an overview of the plan here. It is comprehensive. There's lots of pages to it, but I'm going to try to give an overview and explain. The General Forum did forward this to the municipalities for you to review and provide comments. And that link up there for the public is available so that they can find it, hopefully easy enough to be able to look at it as well. So I do want to acknowledge that this plan is through a lot of people's efforts and help. The elected officials, there was a Public Services and Environmental Committee that started with this, and now the Climate Action and Sustainability Committee has been working on this for the past year. And the elected officials were proactive in thinking, and we created a technical advisory group because there's a lot of technical aspects to this. So I know I probably don't have everybody up there, but I want to thank everybody for the help that they contributed. And I do like to just sort of talk real quickly about why this was created. I'm not going to go into all the details, but the headlines from this summer were pretty common to talk about the crazy weather patterns, and even in our region, right? There's Coburn there in the middle with the extreme flooding, and Hurricane Ida left remnants in Philadelphia of like 8 to 11 inches more than what we usually would be seeing. So the elected officials have recognized this need for helping to keep costs under control. We want to be proactive and help protect the community. So about 2 years ago, actually 3 years ago, I've been in this position for 2 years, but in 2018 this process began, and the General Forum created an objective to create a plan. They wanted a plan that would help reduce our emissions and also help the community adapt to the changing climate. And to look at pragmatic, fiscally responsible actions. So in order to create the plan, there's the 7 steps, 7 milestones that we've been following. And it's exciting to be at milestone number 5, because it seemed like a long time ago, but it was 2 years ago when we started that inventory. So the CAAP itself walks through these different steps, and I'll give a quick overview as well. So the first step is to create an inventory. You have to measure it so that we know if we're making progress going forward. So we have an inventory. You can see up there that our emissions are 824 plus 1,000 metric tons carbon dioxide equivalent, and our biggest sectors come from heating and cooling buildings. Half of it's residential, half of it's commercial, and then transportation's the next one. The inventory does not include Penn State. They have their own inventory and action plan, so we didn't want to double count, but we do collaborate together. Also in this chapter, it identifies how a pathway to get to that 45% goal of our reducing our emissions. That's what the elected officials last July passed a resolution to reach that 45%, that dotted white line there. And it's by the 82 actions that are in this plan, and we identified them in the 6 sectors. So on the left, there are the 6 sectors, and at the high level, it shows each of the reductions that we can achieve by these actions over the next 10 years to reach our goal by 2030. I will point out, like that clean, healthy water, that 2% reduction, both the Water Authority and the UAJ, the University Area Joint Authority, the wastewater, have committed pretty much already to that energy reduction. And for buildings and energy, we're looking at a 32% goal. Again, these are aggressive but attainable, and I'll just say that Penn State has been doing a lot of energy efficiency projects, and they have achieved a 35% reduction. So it is possible. That renewable energy one, that's the biggest, 48%, really will take utility and state action. It's not something that we can do alone, but it's possible. Milestone number 3 is trying to identify our risks and our vulnerabilities. And we basically did a high level, but good starting point, and it's informed by the Center County's Hazard Mitigation Plan update that they did in 2021, so the timing really lined up nicely. And then I also participated with Sean Kaufman and several in the region with Ferguson Township did a community resilience building workshop. So we basically have sort of that high level, and this image is trying to explain there's the climate change impacts, that increasing temperature that Pennsylvania is experiencing and projected to continue to experience. And then we also really, what we've been noticing recently is these fluctuations, these heavy rain events. So those have impacts on our residents and our businesses. And it is public health in some ways that it can be, between asthma, mold. If you recall at the school district, they had mold problems in 2018, as well as business disruptions and costs increases. So those are the things that are impacting our community that we want to help keep costs low in the long run and also prepare and be able to recover quickly.
Can I mention just quickly, that previous picture is on slide page 11 of your copy, and there's a couple specific ones in here that kind of relate to us and how we can be more connected to it. Septic system failures with the fluctuations of precipitation and crop loss, increased food prices. So if you follow Wave Fruit Farm on Jason's videos, you'll hear him talking about how the weather impacts their crops and things. So just wanted to know that some of this is a little beyond Halfmoon Township's direct impact, but some of it is very directly impacting us. So thank you.
Yeah,
Just wanted to highlight
thank you.
that.
And that's the point of putting this out, is that it's really talking to everybody. A lot of people are going to be impacted in different ways, and there's different things that are concerning to some versus others. So it's a good point. So to create a relevant plan and also help prioritize which actions belonged in the climate action and adaptation plan, we tried to do public engagement. It was during the pandemic, but we really, for the past year, have been reaching out. We've had subject matter experts from across the state, a lot from Penn State, to help identify those best practices. We did a survey this spring, and we had over 1,800 survey respondees. And then we had a public forum in April, which was a virtual event that was attended by 150. So I'll go quickly through those, but we're really trying to engage the community and talk about where things align, what people are concerned about, and how we as a community can help. So this is the one slide on the survey. There's the complete report and executive summary is at that link up there in the top left. But I pulled out sort of two, high-level questions and answers. And on the right, you can see the top 10 strategies that have the highest support in our community. And it's kind of interesting because they range from transportation. Really, there's something from every sector that sort of stood out for people, and they're shown there. And then on the left, what I really like this question and answer, because 75% of our community believes climate change is happening. They're accepting that. But even more people, 83% believe that we should be making decisions looking at these scientific projections, and 84% believes addressing climate change will be good for the local economy. So that is important. And I will point out here, for Halfmoon Township, you're 7% of the region's population, but your survey response was 15%. So kudos to your spreading of the email, I'm thinking, is how you communicate. I just wanted to let you know that you reached your community. So thank you for that. As I said, in April, we did have a public forum. We collaborated with Penn State's law department, and the professor and their students facilitated this. We had breakout rooms. I think there was 10 different breakout rooms where the attendees got to talk about the impacts, the opportunities, and actions that they wanted to see from the community. And then they came back, and these were the key messages. And both from the survey and the forum, there is definite evidence that the community is ready for action, that there's a strong will to do something, and these are the important things that we've heard from them. And then I'll just wrap up by saying we need to continue to have these conversations and expand our reach. We did not reach everybody. I totally recognize that, and this is not the end. When the plan is done, we have a lot more work to do, but it's really important for these reasons to make sure people understand the motivation behind why we did this, build broader ownership so that they feel ready for what's coming, what changes, what needs to happen, and they understand different policy changes perhaps. And it did guide the decision making as far as what ended up in the plan, and it will help with implementation as well. And again, it really gets back to those impacts and how we can help prepare the community and make them more resilient. So another piece, another chapter, and when we're looking at the plan, is that a lot of the actions, in fact, most, if not all of them, have co-benefits. And we categorize them into this so that every action, if it has a co-benefit, it has this symbol identified with it. And I'll give an example. In energy and buildings, one of our objectives is to improve energy efficiency in existing buildings. So if you make your building more energy efficient, the property owner reduces their utility bills, so it's a savings. And it also can create job growth. If in our region we're going to promote energy efficiency, that sector can grow. It reduces the demand for energy, so it's less likely we need more power plants, less fuel is needed, which gives us cleaner air and less pollution. So that's an example of co-benefits.
I think I'd add too that most of those green upgrades that businesses and individuals can do are tax deductible.
Correct,
So
right. There's rebates out there.
yeah.
There's a lot of opportunities, and it's good for business.
Yes.
And then I'd like to always include the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals to make sure, this is again another piece of this co-benefits, that there's a lot, not just climate action, not just looking at reducing our emissions, but all these connections to a lot of ways to make our community more sustainable. When we were taking all the actions and figuring out how to create a plan that would hopefully be relevant and used, we sort of kept coming back to, we want this to say, we can do this, like we can do this kind of effect. And so these guiding principles were how we kind of created this. And if you've looked through it, there's a story with almost every chapter with a big picture and showing local leadership, municipal leadership, community, and these are some of the examples here. And it's really talking also about partnerships. Local government can't do all of this alone and has no intention to, but really building those partnerships and making things happen, recognizing that social equity is very important when we're implementing and looking at actions. We want to make sure that we're reaching everybody. And again, it goes back to resilience and those impacts, making sure our community members are prepared. So the way the plan is set up is we've talked about these 6 sectors, and for each sector we have a goal, which you can see there. This is the 3 of them. I'll show the next 3. And then under each of the goals, there's objectives. And then under those objectives are the actions. So it's a total of 82 actions that can help get us to that 45% reduction. And then on the next page, these are the other 3. And again, it's goals, objectives, and then actions. So if we look at all this and at the end we talk about how, what comes next, and it's really this implementation, and we're recommending a phased approach to build buy-in and momentum. And we recognize that looking at our own operations, COG and municipal, is really what we need to do. What can we do with our energy efficiency at the buildings, bicycle-friendly communities? Like, we need to look at these actions in our own world before we start talking to community members. One, I think there's successes that we can share with them, and that leadership can carry on and grow the momentum. Another thing that we want to focus on this next year is to disseminate information and build partnerships. If you recall, the Center County has a solar and EV charger co-op, and that's through Solar United Neighbors. So that organization, a nonprofit, is doing the heavy lifting, but we've partnered with them to help spread the information to our residents. So that's what a good example of partnership. And then finally, that priority actions, we need to also start looking at the specific details of what we can do next to build momentum in our community. And so while we're busy with 1 and 2, we also have to be planning for the next phase. So this image here is trying to sort of explain how the Climate Action and Adaptation Plan can work locally as well as regionally. And the Climate Action Plan should be thought of as like a menu that the municipalities can see what applies to them and works for them, right? State College Borough isn't interested in the agriculture side and land management side, as well as Halfmoon, Ferguson Township. So there's certain things in here that are going to be of interest, and you have those choices to pursue. Regionally, there'll be things that come through the Climate Action and Sustainability Committee. So sharing this with your planning, your Open Space Preservation Board and Planning Commission makes sense to see where there's alignment, right? And feed it back so we can learn what successes you're having so that it sort of can keep our whole region going forward. I come back to this because we're getting ready to head into 6 and 7, and the Climate Action and Sustainability Committee has worked to figure out how we're going to monitor, how we're going to give updates and what the progress reports are. I've got some recommendations there, but we know we're going to do another inventory. We got to track things. We want to let the community know to keep building momentum. So I just put that up there to recognize this is not the end. I am here tonight at Halfmoon Township, and then next week I have State College Borough and College Township. This website link also has a place where the public can submit comments. So we are interested in getting public feedback, municipal feedback on the plan. November 8th, the Climate Action and Sustainability Committee will review the updates, hear the comments, and ideally forward it to the General Forum for adoption. And November 22nd, the General Forum will consider it for adoption is what we're hoping for. That's the plan. And that's what I have, so I can take any questions or comments.
Can I start out with one?
Yes.
So Pam, when we did the hazard mitigation plan
Yes.
update, one of the things that I saw in there and I'd never known was that we work with Penn State Extension to get information out to the farmers about crop insurance. And that was something that I thought would be fantastic for Half Moon specifically.
Right.
So I think if there's a way that we can help get that information out or disseminate it and see if we can get some participation in that, that would be great for Half Moon specifically.
Yeah, no, that is good, and I know in here I talked something about some of the insurance that has been submitted and stuff like that, so making that connection is great.
It is a lot to absorb.
Yes.
It's very interesting, and I'm very glad that it's progressing through the steps from when you were here. It doesn't seem like that long
It's
ago.
2 years,
Because
yeah.
I know, but so a lot's happened, and I'm happy to see the progress, and I know we've been talking about it in the budget
Yes.
committee meetings also, and it's getting support, and that you have this to the point where we can support it to get to the next steps, I think is great.
Excellent.
So thank you.
Yes, and it's apparent that obviously we are being directly affected by climate change at this point. No one can deny the weather we had this summer. It's glaring that it's on our doorstep. I just wanted to, since we have folks, I'll pontificate a little bit and talk about the global effects of climate change, how it, first off, will adversely affect people globally of poverty the most and the earliest, because most of those folks who live in low-lying coastal communities around the world will need to find a new place to live when the oceans get high enough. That is going to cause competition for resources unlike we've ever seen, which is going to trickle down to Halfmoon Township. We're going to be paying exorbitant amounts for electricity, for natural gas, if that, I know we don't have gas here, but and all the different natural resources. So when it's folks who live out in our little Halfmoon Township here might think, oh, climate change, there's nothing we can do about it. We're just a little tiny town. Well, there are things we can do about it, starting with solar electricity, like we're trying to do with the solar power purchase program. There are little steps that we can take that will snowball with the help of other municipalities, other states, and other countries that will make a change, and hopefully we can at least slow the progression of climate change, if not reverse it someday. Probably not in our lifetimes, but that's the goal. So I don't know. I just wanted to put my 2 cents in. So, but yes, great work here. This is fantastic work. So
Thank you.
And more to come.
yes.
Yep.
And even though one of the things that I recognize throughout this whole process, and what I think you've done a fantastic job, and everyone who's participated in doing this, is really bringing these highly complex ideas, I don't know what word I'm looking for, complex issues, to a point where we can see how it relates right here.
Yes.
So I think that's a lot of when you talk about global climate change, everybody's thinking about the globe. Well, no, we can see it right here.
Yes.
There's some things right here, and that, again, Halfmoon Township, of these 6 items, we might not be able to have much impact on all 6. Maybe we have a little bit of impact on 1 or 2.
But it's an impact.
And we can take a small step. Those steps add up. So that's what we're looking to do. So definitely we want to look at how we can educate our residents about this as well. So figure out how to get more people involved in that. Because again, 2 to 3 years worth of work trying to have a 15-minute conversation about it is really difficult.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
The process itself is probably more important than the plan, and so that's where it's like the continuous
Yeah.
process
Yes.
is really how I see this happening. It's kind of like we've got the plan, now we start narrowing it down, getting to neighborhood level discussions.
Right. And one of the things that we could even do as a board for next year, whenever we kind of develop our strategy of priorities, even for the planning commission, with zoning and ordinance review, there's some things in here that we could at least have on in the back of our mind as we're doing these reviews.
Yes.
Are there some things that we could do with our building practices, with those types of things? So there's some things that we could consider as we're reviewing those things next year.
So this is a good opportunity. I've been looking, our electric contract expires on Monday, and I've been looking at different options, and one of the options we have is to pay a little bit more for, well, electricity's up, period, But one of the options we have is to pay a little bit more for 100% carbon-free power. So again, the choice to go with the lowest price may not be the only consideration.
Correct.
So
Yes.
those are some little items that we can start making a greater impact for.
Question for you on that though, because we do have the solar power purchase program in the works, how is that going to conflict with what we're trying to do there?
So in the past, a 5-year contract was signed, and I'm looking at 20 months because of that.
Thank you. That's all I
Already-
needed to know.
Already on it.
Very nice.
Excellent.
Anyone have any other questions or comments? Thank you for coming out. Look
Thanks,
forward to
Pam.
hearing more and see how things
Excellent.
progress.
Thank you very
Pam,
much.
Thank
We'll
you.
put it out on our website and through our social media channels and
Excellent.
ask for public comment as well.
Excellent, thank you.
Thank you. All right. Okay, so that was new business. The next up is department reports and supervisor reports is all we have for the remainder of the evening. Any department reports?
So there's department reports, and I'll say that typically we do them in the second meeting,
Yeah.
but some of these were ready, so the staff was anxious to get them out
Oh,
to you.
great.
If you have any questions on any of them, let us know, but I do not have one, nor does the public works report. Patty, to elaborate on your item a little bit further, so we reached out to Bob Ballinger and asked him if we could have a meeting to discuss different opportunities to help make the property more visually appealing to neighbors, and he's willing to gladly meet with us. We have a meeting set up. If it's something you'd like to attend, you're more than welcome to, but he has been fantastic to work with and very reasonable, and I think it will result in a good meeting, and we will report back on that.
Well, we've had good meetings in the past and it's gotten worse, so.
Yeah, I'm concerned that he's fantastic to work with in a meeting, and then the follow-up on what is requested is what's lacking right now, so.
So I had a discussion with him early on when I started here, after receiving a couple complaints. Went out and talked to him, and I asked him about the tire removal situation. And he explained to me that he pays the same amount for tire removal if he has 20 tires or if he has 50. And what he does is he waits until he gets 50 because it's the same charge and that's the max he can have. So it's, from a business standpoint, it's
Seems
better
logical.
for, right? So I talked to him and I said, listen, if we get a lot of complaints, and especially in the summertime, if your business is slower and you've got 20 tires sitting out there for 2 years, it's very different than, having 20 tire or 50 tires move out every month. So we had a good discussion about it, and he said, contact me if you have any other issues or problems so we can work on it. I've had a complaint here or there in the summertime, especially with mosquitoes, and went down, talked to him, and they were removed within a week. So he's been very reasonable.
I think right now the issue we have is the number of vehicles. that are
Mhm.
There's about a
parked there.
dozen vehicles.
Right, so the discussion is about fence options,
Mhm.
and we'll
Okay.
talk.
Maybe some landscaping.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not to go on and on, but we had that discussion about fence options with him when he first put that garage in. And we got yeah, that's what we're gonna do. Almost 4 years later, we're here talking about a fence again. So,
It may be worth looking at, because that's home occupation.
Yep.
Maybe worth looking at the home occupation as it was defined, because that was before we changed it.
Yep.
Because we edited it, so it's a bit grandfathered. Potentially the nuisance, I don't know if we would want to ask our new solicitor to take a peek at anything, just to get a sense of how far is it going.
Yeah.
So-
I think a good starting point is the discussion.
yes.
Good. Patty, do you want to attend?
When is it?
It's up, if you want to.
I'm thinking about it myself.
Let's be careful ganging up,
Yeah, that's true.
Hold 1 second.
because it certainly sounds like Denise has a good relationship, and we don't want to tarnish that.
Yeah.
It is on Tuesday the 19th at 9:30.
Just a thought.
Okay. And who's going?
Just you.
So far, I believe me and Amy.
You and Amy. Okay. All right, I'll let you know.
Oh, and Ken.
Oh, good, okay.
Okay. All right. Anything else from the reports? Anybody have any questions? I actually apologize, I did not get to take a look at them before the meeting. So I don't have any questions. Anyone else?
There'll be the same reports on the
Next
right, yeah,
meeting.
so
Okay. Let's see, so we have committee reports now. I don't have any. Pam was here for the climate action sustainability, so that's what we did. Anything from you, Bob?
We had a COG HR meeting. It's more COVID and how to get all the COG employees vaccinated, basically in a nutshell.
Okay.
We also reviewed a job description, but that's really neither here nor there in Halfmoon Township. What else? Since I have we had our CNET quarterly meeting last night where we approved our capital and operating budgets for next year. Had a nice presentation from Cindy as far as
Lovely.
the events of the last year. We did have the Upper Bald Eagle COG meeting, but it just dawned on me that I forgot my notes from that, so
That's
I'll have
okay.
to get something together and send that out. Denise is going to join me at the next Bald Eagle COG meeting though, because they have questions about how we handle the fire tax. And I'm really actually kind of hoping that the reason why they kept asking me questions that I couldn't answer because, well, I could answer, but they didn't seem to get what I was saying. So I needed to come from Denise so it's more clear. But I'm really hoping that they are going to come around and actually instate their own fire taxes in those municipalities because it is a nice, easy, tidy way to fund your fire department. And we led by example. Now we need to share how we did this.
Lovely.
And that would give John Witherite a
Total
more
Fire Company.
concrete number to budget with every year.
Wonderful.
So,
I've
but
offered to volunteer my time for helping any other municipality implement that as well.
Excellent, excellent.
so I don't know if that's where it was going or not, but I'm keep my fingers crossed on
Very
that.
nice.
So,
Okay.
but
Good.
that's all I have.
Patty?
Well, finance has been all about budget.
Yes.
For the last, we had 4 different meetings, wrapped up today in our regular meeting, and the budget has been approved by finance to forward to the general forum.
Very nice.
So from the general forum, then it will come back out to the municipalities. So there's been a few changes since the draft, but it's pretty close.
That's good.
So, to the draft. So that's been taking up a lot of time and effort through finance. Facilities is still, I don't think there's anything major there. Basically, Millbrook Marsh is working on phase 2 designs for both the education building and the boardwalk. And we all have financed the phase 2 design for the boardwalk in this budget. And they're working on HVAC systems for the library, and then the facilities coordinator manager is going to do the assessments on the 3 fire companies. So, for the facilities assessment. So that's where we are, and then we had open space last night. We had a new submission, an application for open space,
Okay.
and that was approved and will be sent for the lease through the channels, the proper
Okay.
channels. But then we are gonna put a hold now until we have our evaluation of our open space program. The every 5-year evaluation is coming up in '22. So in aspect of that evaluation and trying to transfer more towards permanent, we're gonna hold now
Okay.
on accepting applications.
That will be an item on the October 28th agenda for approval
Okay.
by the board.
Okay. So that is the open space preservation group, right?
Yes,
For that specific program.
yes.
Okay.
The application will not come to you for review on the 28th, but the open space's recommendation about the moratorium, wow, that was a lot to spit
Yeah.
out. That will come up to you
That's
for
fine.
approval, and then we'll go through the process for the lease.
The reason I'm asking is because I know that is the one specific program in order to preserve land. There are other options, and I don't know if that lies in the hands of the Open Space Preservation Board, or if that is a new committee that we put together for exploring options for all different types of
Well, we
ways that we
currently
can
are.
preserve land. It is,
Yes, we're
Okay.
working with Clearwater and.
that's true too,
Yes,
okay. And the
As far as
county,
permit.
the county one went through that
there's a
as
meeting
well,
coming
right?
up that I think Denise and
Okay,
Amy are
just wanted to
attending with
check.
different partners so that we can maximize our dollars, maybe get dollars from other places
Excellent,
and work
okay.
towards permanent.
Cool, I just wanted to make sure
Easements,
that that was
yes.
all encompassed in there. Cause I believe there may also be forest preservation options, and I don't
Yeah.
know if
Well,
we
the Western
ever.
Pennsylvania Conservancy is coming to that meeting also.
Beautiful. Yay. Okay. That's all I had, that's all the committee reports, is there anything else for the good and welfare?
I have one thing,
Yes,
just
Bob.
quickly, for the folks viewing at home.
Oh, yes.
You should have received by now, if you haven't, it should be in your mailbox any day now, the Port Matilda Emergency Medical Services memberships. Please return this with your generous donation. The family, I can't remember what the individual membership for the year was, but the
65.
65, thank you.
Family is only 75.
Family was 75, so it's definitely worth the extra $10. Port Matilda Emergency Medical Services is always running on the most razor-thin budget. So if you have the means, please be more generous than the $75 because they can use the funds very constructively. We have to fund Port Matilda EMS because our backup is Center Lifelink, and they are an additional 20 minutes further away, and in the time of a stroke or a heart attack or various other medical emergencies, 20 minutes is a very long time and could be the difference between life and death. So we need to make sure that Port Matilda Emergency Medical Services stay in business. That's it. Thank you.
Wonderful.
I will just add that we are paying the membership for the business rate, which is 85 if you're a business. And I asked the question of them, and the good news is you guys are covered while you're on duty here. So yay, that's part of the business.
That's nice.
So if something happens, we have AED training now for the whole staff. And we also have a membership for.
Wonderful.
Good
Okay.
deal.
Fabulous. Thank you for reminding me. I remembered seeing it on Facebook, and I got mine in the mail. I already sent mine.
The only reason why I have mine here with me to use as a prop is because I am out of stamps. So,
Okay. Anything else for the good and welfare of?
I would just add
Yes.
the piece up there for the adjournment that we will be adjourning to.
Oh, I'm sorry. I totally forgot about that. Look at me. Yes, we are adjourning, and we are going back to an executive session to continue discussion on personnel matters. And we don't plan on making any decisions, and we'll report on that again at the next meeting. Thank you. Okay. Going once, going twice. Meeting adjourned.